Our most recent fabrication lab that we launched was at Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Unity Point Health. We opened this in November 2019, and by February and March, the pandemic was hitting, and we were able to see our thesis from 10 years ago when we invented the space of DIY medical technology come to life. That we were seeing the people closest to this problem, closest to the pandemic, to the point of care, patients coming in, they were the ones who were able to create solutions for their patients. And they did it just in time, they did it while the supply chains failed, and they did it to solve problems that we never knew existed. In Iowa, they were needing to move patients across the state from really remote areas to hospitals and some of the centers. A helicopter team came into the fabrication lab and they said, how do we have these very unique PPE challenges that are specific to the transportation of a helicopter. And the team inside the lab was able to work with them to create solutions that worked just for them. The pandemic has forced us to rethink every angle of how we deliver healthcare, what the environment looks like where patients are cared for, how medical supplies are used, how medical supplies arrive at the hospital. We saw shortages across the board for everything from respiratory equipment to masks and PPE. And we saw makers rise to the challenge and fill in some of those gaps. When a medical device is made inside of a hospital, the hospital has discretion over how that is used. They have their local regulatory processes that they can validate and test and be confident. We saw this as an asset during the pandemic when our hospital fabrication labs, such as the team at Unity Point Health in Iowa, were able to create, design, test inside the lab, and rapidly deploy devices to fill in the gaps where the supply chains had been broken. So I consider myself a medical device archaeologist. We spend a lot of time inside of different healthcare settings understanding how devices are created and modified at the point of care. We know that the way mass manufacturing works is that medical technology is designed to be as general as possible and meet very specific needs. We see in practice that what ends up happening is there is an entire stealth network of frontline makers who are making modifications just in time in order for those devices and supplies to work for that one patient. They do the long tail tinkering and modifications. We saw this in clinics in Central America, and in 2013 worked with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation to identify these stealth makers throughout the US in a study called Maker Nurse. So uncovering nurses across the US and what they were making, creating. And we saw the same types of health making, the same custom bandages, the same CPAP protective swatches being cut for patients in Brooklyn, New York, as we saw in Managua, Nicaragua. And we realized this is not about a resource-constrained setting needing to make on demand. This is about the DNA of an entire workforce of frontline clinicians who recognize that there isn't going to be the perfect device available for their patients, and so they can make it, they can design it. And this stealth ingenuity is what we wanted to support. We wanted to design tools that would not just allow them to move forward in the shadows, but to be able to really amplify their health making. So we launched Maker Health in order to do that. And Maker Health offers a series of tools and a software engine that hospitals can use to build a culture of experimentation and creativity and allow their frontline staff to make the next generation of health technology. We'll be inviting nurses to apply for access to the Create license based on either a prototype that they have. So have you made something that represents a medical device? Can you share an idea that you have, a sketch on a piece of paper? No, and we see that no solution is too small to be considered. Some of the most impactful moments and projects in medical making are the simplest, but they are what meets patients where they are. And nobody knows those challenges better than the frontline clinicians. So we're excited to be working closely with nurses in the coming months with access to our Create license and their customized prototyping kits so they can bring their medical device ideas to life.